This is part 2 of the video where we determine whether the function is even, odd, or neither. What you see in front of me is the steps that we took in part 1 of the video to determine how do we know whether a function is even or the function is odd. If you would like to see this theory being derived, I would encourage you to look at part 1 of the video before moving on to part 2. This is part 2 of the video where we look at the second function. And in this video, we will look at the following function. F of x equals x cubed minus x squared. Okay? Remember, for the function to be even, this f of x, this function, should equal to a function where we replace all of the x variables with a negative x. So we'll substitute negative x in for all of the x's. Okay, so it's going to look like this. F of x, negative x, equals negative x cubed minus negative x squared. Okay, let's simplify. F of negative x equals, notice how I put negative x in parentheses because my original x is no longer x now, it's a negative x. Just like I substituted negative 2 for this f of x or this negative 2 for that f of x, you see? All right, let's look. Because negative is inside the parentheses and the exponent is odd, the result is negative. Negative x cubed. All right, minus. Now let's open this set of parentheses. Negative is inside the parentheses, this negative right here, and it's being raised to an even exponent. This result is positive. Notice this negative goes right here. Okay, this result is a positive x squared. Now let's compare. Let's look to see if f of x, this f of x, equals to f of negative x. Here's my f of negative x. Let's rewrite. F of x, x cubed minus x squared. We want to know if it equals to negative x cubed minus x squared. Now let me write it again. This is your original function. This right here is f of negative x. And we're trying to compare. Now look very carefully. X squares are negative, but this term is opposite of this one, you see? So that means that f of negative x is not the same. It doesn't equal to f of x. Okay? That means that this function is not even. Not even. Okay? But if the function is not even, it doesn't mean it's not odd. To determine whether the function is odd, we have to consider this scenario. Remember, it's the counterclockwise rotation against the origin. It has to have a symmetry over the origin. If the function has a symmetry over the origin, it's going to be odd. Let's compare. Let's see. Our goal is to look at f of negative x, which we already have, so I won't erase that. What I will erase is my pink stuff. Because we have to compare f of negative x. Here's my f of negative x, but now I have to compare it to negative f of x. What is negative f of x? Well, it's the same thing if I take the original function and multiply it by negative 1. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my original function, remember it was written in blue, x cubed minus x squared, and now I need to multiply it by this negative 1 right here. Okay, that means we're going to distribute negative 1 to open our parentheses. Negative times positive is negative. Negative times negative is positive. Okay. This is negative f of x. Our goal now is to compare negative f of x, which is this, and f of negative x, which is this. Okay, let's write them together. negative f of x, negative x cubed plus x squared. Our goal is to see, are they the same? Is negative f of x the same as f of negative x? Okay. Well, this time, these terms are the same. The first terms are the same, but the second ones are not. That means it's not odd either. This function is not odd. It wasn't even. It's not odd. Well, there's only one other possibility. The function is neither. So this function is neither. Now remember, for the function to be odd, f of negative x should have been equal to negative f of x, and it wasn't. So we looked at function being even, we determined it wasn't even. We looked at it for being odd, we determined it wasn't odd. So the result is this particular function is neither. Now notice, something to notice, if you look at the first part of this video and the second part of this video, I specifically chose different types of functions to pinpoint, and this is where students make a mistake. They look at the highest exponent of the function and they see, well, if the highest exponent is odd, then the function will be odd. That's not the case. This is the proof of it. The highest power of this function is odd. This function is neither. You're going to have to go through these steps, okay, to determine if it's odd, or the previous two steps to determine if it's even. So this function, x cubed minus x squared, is neither. And we're done.